right here. We got Lord Jamar. What's good, man?
Peace. What's happening?
Lord Jamar, what's good, my G, man? Thanks for coming on the show, man. We appreciate that, first off.
No doubt. Thanks for having me.
Lord Jamar, I want to ask you, man, because you're one of the few people that I came up listening to that I look at you as the voice, as the voiceless for niggas my age, who's in my mid-30s, that's talking that real shit to the youth right now. We got a lot of soldiers before you, whether it's Jay, Nas. I don't think a lot of those cats, and maybe they don't give a fuck, maybe, and maybe they doing other shit in their life that they don't spend time to talk to the youth. I just feel like you drop a lot of knowledge. Whether I agree with a lot of it or not, I just respect the fact that you're very vocal and you don't really give a fuck what you feel how you feel. You're not PC. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that as one black man to another black man. I want to say that to you first off. You know what I mean?
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
How did you and the Brand Nubians link up with Sadat and Grand Poo? I always want to ask that question. How did you guys link up? Because you have three different flows, and how did y'all incorporate that as one? And how did y'all link up, though?
Man, we all grew up in the same town in New Rochelle, New York. But we all lived in different neighborhoods, different areas. And Pooh Bah was actually a little bit older than me and Sadat. So, long story short, he had a crew back then that was popular, and they ended up making a record. They had a couple hit singles, but then they broke up. During that time, he was working with me and Sadat separately, you know, trying to get us on, but we was both solos, you know what I mean? So when his group broke up, we kind of just came together like we felt it would be easier for us to get to get a deal as a group as opposed to trying to get three separate deals, you know what I mean? It seemed like a harder shot, you know what I mean? So we just put it all together like that and came with the Brand Nubian thing.
And you guys incorporate a lot of 5% talk in your lyrics coming up, you know what I'm saying? I mean, all for one. I mean, as a young youth coming up, though, what made you decide to go to the 5% teachings and shit? Because I always see you talk about that hard body and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah,
well, I've been a member of the Nation of Gods and Earth since I was about 15 years old, you know what I mean? I'm 45 now. So that was just something that, you know, once I was always into hip-hop even before that. You know, I started DJing at like 12, 13 years old. But once I got the knowledge of myself, it was like an automatic infusion of, I was like, yo, this would be fly, you know what I mean, incorporate this with the music, because actually that had been done to me already by the Supreme Team. You know, I used to listen to the Supreme Team back in the days, which was a popular radio show. And long story short, they was gods, but I didn't even know it. I didn't know what they was talking about, you know what I mean? But I just loved their music. And they had one song, The Enlightener, that they did off of Make This a Night to Remember. And I just loved the song. I didn't know what they was, but I knew all the words. So when I got the knowledge of myself, I said, oh, that's what they was talking about. I said, wow, these dudes taught me without me being known, without me knowing I was being taught. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, that's a good strategy right there. We could teach these babies without them even knowing they're being taught. You know what I mean? Or maybe they will know. You know what I mean? Or maybe it'll be a seed that's planted that'll grow later. You know what I mean? Which is what happened to me. So that strategy right there, that's where I got it from.
Okay. So why do you think that right now that people aren't really putting out any rhymes anymore, though? Like the youth of today, they're not really going that route. When you, X-Clan, you know, the Wu, you know, even now sometimes in Gang Guru and stuff, really talked about the seventh letter and that things of that nature. How come the youth of 2014, they're not going that route? Everything is different, though. You know what I mean? You're hearing the youth rap about 5% lessons and stuff.
There was a concerted effort in the 90s to neutralize that sort of message within hip-hop. They saw that hip-hop could be used to empower and motivate, you know, for positive things. So they just switched who they wanted empowered and what the motivation was going to be about. You know what I mean? So it became all about empowerment of money and all about the haves instead of the have-nots. You know, and also it's the disconnection of the generations prior. You know what I mean? Like, they were quick to start calling things old school, even when it wasn't necessarily old school.
Old school.
Like, right now, I don't have a problem being called old school. But there was a time when we were still in our mid-career, and they were trying to call our music old school. I was like, yo, pump your brakes, dude. I'm not old school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? But that's because they're trying to retire you real quick. They're trying to mentally, in the people's minds, make you disposable and tell you that your time is over, move on, we don't want to hear from you. We got a new message.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And this is the way that they make our youth vulnerable by doing this ageism. You know what I mean? Like, they act like racism is so bad or homophobia, as they call it, is so bad. But nobody has a problem with ageism. As far as, people over 35 and older, you're old. You're an old man in these people's eyes. Like, you know what I mean? And you should just go somewhere, curl up, and die in their mind. You see what I'm saying? You shouldn't make no music. You shouldn't say nothing about what's going on right now, even though you laid the foundation, the bricks in the foundation of this. They feel like you should have no say-so in this. And that's some bullshit. I'm not going for it.
Lord Jamal, what do you think of current New York hip-hop right now? What's your take on it?
I mean, there is, I don't really see a lot of, mainstream New York hip-hop. I mean, you'll always find underground New York hip-hop, but, as far as the mainstream New York hip-hop, some of it is disappointing to me. You know what I mean? Like, people like French Montana is supposed to be here from New York, but his music, he totally
garbage. It's garbage. I'm sorry, I can't.
I mean, not just the fact that it's garbage. I mean, he got some catchy joints. You know what I mean? Whether it's, it's real simplistic. It's for this time right now. Half of these rappers would have never been able to have a leg to stand on in the 90s. Of course not. But for now, let me just say, okay, a song like Ocho Cinco or the other one, Don't Stop, Pop That Pussy, whatever the song. You hear that in the club and you see them rocking to that or whatever. And although he's not, those are catchy songs, okay? But at the same time, it's like you're supposed to be from New York and you like, like you got this whole twang in your style and your voice, and it's just like, come on, man. I thought we was the pioneers of this. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we let this get away from us too much. Like, you know what I mean?
And when did it happen? When did it happen when we let it get away from us, though?
Well, I'll be honest. Like, I was one of those cocky New York type dudes where, when we came up, when I was coming up, New York got all the good hip hop first. It might take a couple months or something to get down south and all that. Yeah. And like, you go down south and they worshiping you, because you from New York and all of that. And I didn't really think it was going to spread like that to other places, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought New York was always going to be controlling it. You know what I mean?
Me too.
And then when Cali started coming with this shit, I was like, yo, this is kind of whack, but...
Are you talking about the Chronic era, or wherever you talking about with the West Coast?
No, this is before the Chronic. Chronic is when they really refined it and really pulled you in, you know what I mean?
You talking about Della Funky, Homo Sapien and shit like that?
Yeah, well, that was the beginning of Weirdo Rap, actually. But, fucking... I don't know, just some, like, let's even say my boy Ice-T, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's my man right there. But he was, like, one of the first West Coast dudes where I was like, okay. I was like, they like this over there? Like, I was like, yo, he got a perm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was all, culture shock to me. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, yo, he's talking about pimping and shit. Like when NWA came out, I remember me and the guard was like, yo, they're actually calling themselves niggas, dog. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Like, yo, that's crazy. Like, you know, because our minds were so away from that. We was such on a positive road that this was like flabbergasting to us. Like, oh shit! Like, these dudes actually call themselves niggas with attitude.
Right.
Like, and you know. So until I got over to the West Coast, I wasn't sure. I felt like, yo, these dudes are savages, and they just took this rap shit. You know what I mean?
Did you feel like though, you know, just as you guys were sending a message and speaking on what you guys believed in, you know, they were technically kind of doing the same thing about what they were seeing, you know, in LA, just a different way. You know,
slang differently.
Negative. The way was negative. See, I feel like they were put out and promoted to counteract everything that the positive movement was doing at that time. You know what I mean? And kind of the energy of both of them came to a culmination with the LA riots. You see, because the LA riots was a combination of consciousness, you know, people who were conscious about, you know, police brutality going on in their communities and the oppression that's going on within the black community and the injustices that we see every day, combined with gang mentality and you know, fuck that, I'm gonna flip, I don't give a fuck mentality. You understand what I'm saying? And so you put those two things together, and it turned into a time bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they need to switch the ingredients. They needed to take that positive thing out there. You know what I mean? So that way the bomb don't blow up on them. You know what I mean? And if it does blow up, it'll just blow up in our faces. You know what I mean? And that's what's been happening ever since, basically. You know.
Were you surprised that hit so hard though? That type of music?
No, because let me just say, like, because it appeals to your lower self. Like, can I sit here and say that I wasn't an NWA fan? Hell no, I loved NWA.
Word.
Like, I love gangster music.
Yep.
Why? Because it appeals to a part of me that I used to could relate to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I never rhymed about all that shit, but I used to be a hustler. I used to sell crack and have a gun every day, riding around with no license in my mother's car with machetes and a 38 under the seat and smoking weed and just, you know what I mean? We used to be sniffing coke, smoking dust, all of that shit back in the days. But you don't hear me rhyme about that shit because, and I had knowledge at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I might even had knowledge while I was doing some of these things. But at some point I came to the realization, yo, I can't do this no more. This is wrong, and I have bigger things planned for me. You know what I mean? I knew in my mind I was going to make a record. So I said, man, I can't be getting no steel indictments like all my other friends. I got to stop this shit. You know what I mean? I got to go get a job. You know what I mean? So now I'm getting my first job when I'm like 18 years old. You know what I mean? Like, like my first honest job. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is what? What 18 was you? Hip-hop wise, you mean?
Huh?
You mean hip-hop wise? 18 was your first job as doing hip-hop?
I mean a real job. Like
9 to 5, oh, pardon me, okay.
For the man,
Okay.
Oh, I was selling tapes and doing house parties and, you know what I mean? Since I was 13, 14, you know what I mean? I was making hip-hop money since the beginning, you know what I mean? But I'm talking regular square money, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but you don't hear Lord Jamar rhyming about selling crack and popping at niggas, and you know what I mean? But trust me, I done did all that. I done ran with all these type of dudes, and you know what I mean?
Right.
But that's not my thing. But so I say all that to say, gangster music appeals to my lower self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even somebody like me, it appeals to my lower self because parts of that, it's like, you know what I mean? You can identify with that in a way. You know what I mean?
It's relatable.
But we gotta go past those lower chakras and get to our higher chakras. That's the only way you get to deal with your God self, when you deal with your higher self. And so they want you dealing with these lower frequencies and these lower vibrations.
Yeah. Jamar, can you define what a culture? Can you define what a culture vulture is?
A culture vulture would be somebody who comes in and picks at the bones and the traditions and you know, customs of any given culture, you know, and it's usually someone of European descent doing it to a culture of melanated people, you know. That's historically who a culture vulture is and what a culture vulture does. They come in and they, first they act like they're enamored with the culture, you know, and they're just here to learn, you know, and then once you let them in and teach them certain things, then they want to, you know, try to elevate themselves higher than you within your culture. And then soon they're going to tell you that your culture is not your culture, that it's everyone's culture. That the culture never actually belonged to you. It's basically the Christopher Columbus, you know, syndrome all over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're going through that right now with hip-hop and modern R&B. It's happened many times within, you know, American music. Black people have come up with a genre of music, and, you know, first it's vilified by white people, and then once they can't beat them, they join them, and then ultimately, you know, become the culture vultures that we're talking about, and absorb it, distort it, turn it into something else, turn it into basically just a financial means, take the spirit away from it, suck it dry, and then just leave the bones. And then all that's left are bones. You understand what I'm saying? And it doesn't even resemble what it started out to be in the beginning. You got from Coltrane and all that in the beginning, and now what's today's jazz? Kenny G. You did. That don't resemble nothing like what the beginning was.
Well, the reason I asked you that, Jamar, because I know you keep your eyes on what's going on in the culture, but Dame Dash and Funkmaster Flex had a back and forth, and basically Dame was saying that Funkmaster Flex is a culture vulture, and a brother like myself who grew up in New York City listening to Flex for how many years, I mean, love him or hate him or have any discrepancies with the man, but I don't know, maybe I'm not the right person to say this, but I don't look at Flex as a culture vulture. I look at him as a guy that's been putting on for music and been blessing my ears for how many years? You know what I mean? So I kind of
okay, I heard that they had something going on, and I didn't know the exact specifics. I heard things going around. I wouldn't call Flex a culture vulture, but what I would say is Flex works for the culture vultures, and he rides hard for the culture vultures. You know what I mean? So does that make him a culture vulture by osmosis? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have to really debate on that. You know what I mean? But, you know, is he a dude that did pay his hip-hop dues, carrying crates and all of that, and understands the culture? Absolutely. But are there certain of us that have now overlooked a lot of that in order for our own personal benefit and our own personal gain, and turned a blind eye to certain things that are happening to our culture by the vultures? You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not going to say that he might be the actual vulture, but, you know.
Well, part of what happened was
is standing by as the bones get picked without trying to shoo them away. You see?
Right, because Dame was calling Joey I.E. part of me. Yeah. No, Dame was calling Joey I.E. a culture vulture, and Flex came to the defense of Joey I.E. That was the initial story. What happened? I believe he's I don't want to say, what is he, a big-time president, I guess, at Interscope Records, I guess? And Dame was talking about with Combat Jack.
Jimmy
No,
I.
not Jimmy I. Joey I.E. Joey I.E. He was at Def Jam before also. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I guess for me, I just didn't want to say, I don't know why Flex and Dame going back and forth. I know, you know, it just didn't seem right. Like, we're talking about two brothers that in their prime. Like, I don't want to see those guys go back and forth. And I thought Flex took it real personal. You know what I mean? and Dame was just going to the approach of. And the thing about Dame is still talking about Leo Cohen, but I'm thinking to myself, well, Dame, that's how many years ago? You still harboring bad feelings towards Leo Cohen. He's not a Def Jam no more, so I don't understand that. I didn't understand the Dame and Funkmaster flex. I thought it was kind of whack to me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's for that.
I mean, whatever. I don't know enough about it to comment on it all that much, other than what I just said. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel that. Yo, Jamar, what do you think about the G Unit reunion? 50 Cent coming out, bringing them out at Summer Jam.
I mean, I think that was cool. You know, that was. I guess that was a nice thing to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always positive when you know, people got beef and then they can come back together. You know, that's always a good feeling. You know what I mean? It is, you know, but, I mean, are they going to come back and save New York hip-hop or something because of that? Like,
I don't think so.
You know, but that is definitely a good thing. You know, I would have felt like it was a real reunion if Game was involved. You know what I mean? That's a real G Unit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you could pull that off, that would have been explosive. If Game came out on that goddamn stage with them, that would have been
that would have been crazy.
The chain.
Yeah.
Okay? But what they did was good. You know what I mean? That was cool.
But is it organic to go in the studio now when you had discrepancies and you aired out dirty laundry to the public and now to go to the studio? Is it hard to get those creative flows back together? Do you lose that?
Good question, because it feels weird now. It feels weird, especially when I hear Young Buck, you know what I mean? After we heard him, you know, sobbing and all this on the tape and all that, and now it's like you back rhyming with this dude and even bigging him up in some of the lyrics, like if 50 tell me this,
really bigging him up.
I heard, and it's just like you know, I mean, at the end, 50. I guess 50 looks good. You know, he looks the best. But, is it really organic? I'd say not. I guess it looks all about money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, money could make a lot. Money has power. You see what I'm saying? But it don't have more power than love, man. And that's why the music that they made when it was organic, when it was about the love, will always be better than anything that brings people together just for money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything.
I
That's
agree.
why Chronic and all albums like that was crazy. You know what I mean? Because it was the love and the camaraderie and all of that. They can't duplicate that. That's why this fucking Detox is never going to come out. He's too rich to make some shit like that now.
It's even like the Wu-Tang Clan, Jamar. I got love for the Wu, but, I mean, they have their problems, and it's out there to everybody, to the public. And now the RZA wants them to do an album together, but I'm like, well, Ray got his problems, this one got their problems, and it's like, now you're going to ask 8 guys or 9 guys to get in the lab together and try to make magic. I just don't see it happening when you're already airing out dirty laundry like that. You know what I mean? Am I wrong on that, or are you able to do that and still work together, or isn't it hard?
I mean, I think it would be very hard to do. You know what I mean? Like, when Brand Nubian got back together, like, we honestly had an organic. It was organic when it happened. Like, it wasn't no forcing. It wasn't just because of the label. Like, we came together on our own. Like, we made an album. Like, when Foundation came out.
That's the Foundation album, the Foundation album.
Well, no, we made an album, though, before that on our own. Like, just on some getting back together shit. That ended up, some of those songs ended up coming out later and shit. But we made an album off of that. And then we ended up doing, you know, the single on Loud, and then the single with Arista, which led to the deal on Arista. So that's why that album was a solid album, because we really came together, not just on some we got a deal, let's go make some songs. Like, we already was working together on our own. Like, we was in the studio on our own with no budget and all that, and making songs already and getting, you know what I mean?
Right.
Getting that feel back and that respect and all that. You know what I mean? And it was never, with us, it was never beef. Like, you know what I mean? It was just whatever.
Yeah. Now, is it true that you and Ali Mo got a group called the No Associates? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we got a project called No Associates.
Okay, you doing beats now, Jamar?
Yeah, he got some beats. Ali Mo always had some beats here and there.
No, I know. You know? No, but I'm saying yourself, though. I think I read somewhere, I heard you say on an interview one day that you actually doing beats yourself, though, right?
I've been doing beats, my son, Bo. Some of the greatest brand Nubian records was me, and you probably even know.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, like that whole from after One for All, pretty much, you know what I mean?
Right.
That was all me.
Okay.
Everything is everything. I didn't do no production on Foundation. I just wanted to concentrate on rhyming and shit. But, you know, my solo album, bunch of shit. I've produced for a lot of people and shit on the law.
Okay. What is it about the overseas that rappers like? They say they get a different kind of love when they go overseas compared to here in the States. Is it a different kind of vibe over there? We appreciate hip hop more.
Yeah,
overseas,
they do. Like they're more into it. They more into it. They you know. Well, again, though, you know, it could be part of that culture vulture shit, but like because the kind of questions they ask you, like they're really trying to understand. How the fuck do you do this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is your thought process and what do you know what I mean? Like, they're not asking you dumb shit. Like over here, they might ask you some dumb shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, the average like mainstream radio station. You know, the kind of questions they're asking you are not really in depth. They might not even know your music like that. You see what I'm saying? Like where these dudes overseas, when they're interviewing you, like you know damn well they know your shit. They're like, so okay, in the third paragraph, on the fourth line, you said, and you're like, damn, or they pulling out records that you might have even forgot that you recorded.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, y'all niggas is really on it. You know what I mean? Like,
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just different. And then the shows, they, you know, see over here at some point, right? Some point, I remember during the 90s, the shows started getting whack because everybody in the crowd was an MC. And nobody wanted to fucking give up that love like a fan.
That's New York City for you.
You know what I mean? Like, so at some point it was a bunch of people just posing in the crowd, knowing damn well they just seen a great show. You know what I mean? But they want to act a certain kind of way because they an MC. They really want the accolades for them, and they can't be seen wilding for somebody else. So over there, it's like, man, they don't care if they are an MC or DJ. When they hear you and they love your shit, they're going to go crazy for your shit. Like, you know, so the energy be like, you know. If you're not into stage diving, you might go over there and stage dive. You know what I mean? This niggas have you hyped up was the shit.
Yo, Jamar, really quick, man. I don't know if you feel the same way as I do on this topic, but I feel like weirdo rap is at one of the all-time highs right now. You got Chance the Weirdo. You got Young Thug, a.k.a. Young Weirdo. I mean, what do you see? Like when Jamar did this? Lil B, man, like, when did this happen?
Trinidad Weirdo.
Yeah.
Trinidad
Schoolboy Weirdo.
Oh, man.
All these motherfuckers, man.
A bunch of fucking weirdos. Jamar, I mean, man, what do you feel on that? Like when did this happen?
Well, part of my philosophy with that is, especially with like the mainstream labels, is like at some point I feel like not only were they trying to neutralize the alpha male, who started this hip hop shit, and trying to put it into the hands of the beta male. But they got tired of real niggas running up in their office and shit. And shit like that.
I heard stories.
What? My nigga Daddy X ran up in Def Jam with a fucking gun. You know what I mean? Fucking mad niggas done did shit like that. Yo, where's my money type of shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Had these fucking these executives terrified. You know what I mean? Like, damn,
Yep.
it's the price of dealing with this hip-hop shit. You know, I know that's the type of shit they were saying amongst themselves. Yo, we got to do something about this shit, man, because this shit is
the inmates are running the asylum.
These fucking guys scare the shit out of me, man. These fucking guys, man, he pulled a fucking gun out of my fucking office. It was fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So they was like, you know what? No more of that shit. Now they got the type of niggas it was like, when they come to the office beefing about their check, they be like, shut the fuck up, sit down. I'll smack the shit out of you. This is the white man now talking to the black artist. Sit your fucking ass down, nigga. I'll pay you when I'm ready to pay you.
Yo, it's interesting you bring this up.
Come in here, beat.
It's interesting you bring this up because there's someone on Twitter. You know, we're taking a couple of Twitter questions. They said, "How do you feel about the Justin Bieber, Donald Sterling double standard?"
Ain't no double standard.
No.
I mean, well, I guess there is a little bit, but I don't feel there's a double standard. Like, we felt that Donald Sterling was a racist not just because of the tape, but because of his other patterns of behavior that were coming out. You see what I'm saying? As far as him not renting his apartments to Mexicans and blacks, and being on record of saying that they're dirty and all kind of shit like that, and you know what I mean? And then how the tape was just longer and longer, and all the shit he said. It was just more than one thing. See, at first, the Bieber shit was just one thing. You know what I mean? Shit about the run, nigga, run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at that point, it was like, could you call him a racist just for that? To me, I had said not necessarily, but now my eye is on your motherfucking ass. You know what I mean? But now when the other shit came out, I'm a believer now. I'm a believer that you're a racist. Oh yeah, I'm a believer. Yeah, because and I believe that your fucking foundations are built on racism. You see what I'm saying? And you're a fucking ungrateful bastard, because it just came to my attention that song that he was singing about One Less Lonely Nigger, that was a play on one of his songs that was already out, that blew out, was called One Less Lonely Girl. See, we don't listen to Justin Bieber, so we didn't know that. We didn't know he had a song called One Less Lonely Girl.
I didn't know that at all.
I didn't know that at all. My physical put me up on that. He was like, you know, this motherfucker was already out and famous, right? He said, because that One Less Lonely Nigger is a play on One Less Lonely Girl. I said, get the fuck out of here. And that shit was verified. And go look that shit up. And he was already a star when he did that. Meaning, he was biting the hand that feed him. The nigga Usher already is the one that put your ass on, and you in the fucking shit talking about One Less Lonely Nigger. And see, now they talking about, he's not racist. All his homies is racist. I mean, all his homies is black. Let me tell you something. When a fucking undercover cop go deep cover, all his fucking friends are criminals, right? And he's still a cop, right? You know what I mean? So don't tell me just because all his fucking friends is black, so the fuck what? You know what I mean? This nigga's deep cover. He's deep cover right now for the man. And I feel like a lot of this shit is coming out right now. Why? Because it's a sign, it's a signal to his people, like, yo, don't trip on me because I've been hanging with these niggas and getting on all this trouble and shit. Don't throw the book at me, judge and jury and all this type of shit. I'm a good old boy like you. I hate niggas just like you. I've been hating niggas. Look, here's the footage. You know what I mean? But
Jamar, what do you say to the people that like Tyson Chandler from the Knicks or these other rappers who be chilling with Justin or Floyd bringing him down to the ring? Like they co-sign him though. And, you know, I don't think they look at him as racist.
We got to stop doing that without, you know what I mean? We got to start putting motherfuckers through initiations or some shit or you know what I mean? I'm dead ass serious, B. Like you want to be a blood or you want to be a Crip, you can't just walk up and be like, all right, I'm down, my nigga. They're going to fucking jump you in and all make you do some
initiation.
Shit, all of that. And see if you really down, my nigga. You know what I mean? So you can't just because we both make music, you know what I mean? You're an artist and I'm an artist. Right. And we make a similar style of music. You should be able to fucking hang with me and chill with me and just because you like to fuck with black bitches. Like, so what? The slave master loved to fuck black girls. You know what I mean? He was fucking black girls all the time. That doesn't mean he wasn't racist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sure. And even, okay, he was young. Let's just say he changed. Even though, did you see the graffiti piece he made just a year ago of the monkey-looking dude with the gold chains and all that? Did you see that?
Oh, my God, no.
I didn't see that. No.
Google that shit. He was in Brazil. He did a graffiti piece, and it was of a googly-eyed black monkey with muscles, and it had on a gold chain, a gold tooth, a nose ring, maybe an earring or some shit like that, some earrings or some shit like that. And it was very telling. You know what I mean? It was very telling, because I bet you this nigga been drawing that shit since he was 14. You know what I mean? And this is really what he thinks of black people. But now he thought he can get away with it just as a graffiti piece because he feels that, you know, he's hiding in plain sight like that. He's not a fucking racist. But, you know, fuck you, Justin Bieber. You know what I mean? I'm not fucking with you.
Hey, Jamar, are you coming to Miami July 11th for the master ceremonies?
I'm not sure, man. Possibly.
So I was checking out. They had the Roots. I think it was you guys on the bill. I think Big Daddy Kane was on the bill.
Yeah, we did a Radio City Music Hall like that with the master ceremonies, and that was big. But I don't know. This tour has been real funny and sketchy, man. So I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, Jamar, man, we appreciate you coming on our show, man. You've been blessing our radio station just to drop a little knowledge, man. We appreciate you, my G.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you, Jamar.
Yes, sir.